Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Friday, April 24th, 2026. That's more than 6 years of Torah every single weekday morning, finding each other to learn, to grow, and to say good morning. Tracy, Andrea, nice to see you. Jonathan and Michelle, Scott and Arlene. Linda, good to see you, my friend. Jonathan, Boker Tov. Hope that all of you are safe and well. Let's see who else is here. We'll say a few more good mornings and then we'll sing a bracha, learn some Torah, and get ready for Shabbos. Debbie, Valerie, nice to see you. Hi, Kate. Hope that you are well. Nicole, welcome. Jerry and Arlene, Patricia and Lydia. Good morning, everyone. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody, good morning. It's good to see all of you. Some of us were blessed last night in Westchester to hear from the astounding, eloquent, passionate, and wise Rachel Goldberg Polin. It was an event organized by UJA Federation of New York. Um, More than 1,200 people were present. My wife and my son sang and played an original song that they had written for Rachel's son Hirsch, Zichrono Livracha, just 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before he was murdered in a tunnel in Gaza. And my wife and my son sang that song to open the event, lifting the space and all of our hearts to a place where we could truly be open to this testimony. I hope that the video will be released of the conversation and of the song. I want to begin with that because this is a complicated moment in Jewish history where we traverse it ritually. We had just a week and a half ago, Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura, Day of Holocaust and Heroism, that led through the Shivat Yemei Tekuma, the 7 days of rising again, into Yom HaZikaron, which is all about remembering the sacrifice that has been necessary, tragically necessary, for Jewish self-determination in founding the state and in rebirthing Jewish identity, and going right into Yom HaAtzmaut, the Day of Independence. And while those are national holidays for the state of Israel, they are also high holidays when it comes to Jewish meaning. And so it is so essential for us not to miss the sanctity of this period of time. And of course, time is both experienced in a cyclical way. The holidays come every year, and so they ritually bring us into these modes. But the chronological time that we're in, the actual time that we are experiencing, is another extraordinary, complicated thing. We also have headlines that tell us what's happening. We have our own lives. What Rachel's conversation last night did is it combined both of those. It brought the cyclical power of Jewish tradition. She is a deeply faithful Jewish woman. And it also moved us forward through time with honesty, with gravity, with some humor. She is she's a person who's gone through things no person should go through. And she has shared her heart and her family and her son with all of us. If you're on Long Island, please, Barry is sharing that Rachel Goldberg Poland will also be speaking in Port Washington, Long Island on Wednesday, May 6th at another UJA event. Please don't miss the chance to be there. Also, if you haven't yet purchased Rachel's book, When We See You Again, this is time. This is the book of our time. I encourage you to buy this book, to let it in, to take it piece by piece, step by step, page by page. Some of us will be studying this book. I just created a Daf Yomi group, a daily page group to go through this book. We'll see how that works. But this will be a book that we have to talk about. These will be days that we will always remember. And there will be a cyclical kind of history that continues to be written from the days that we are living now. And so I wanted to begin a short reflection on this week's Torah portion with that framing because of its intensity. And I'll build my way there in a moment. To answer your question, Valerie, the best place to purchase it is anywhere it is sold, specifically online, because one of the responsibilities we have in UJAs taking this seriously is making sure that everyone has this book in their hands. So not only should you buy a copy, buy multiple copies and distribute them to Jews and non-Jews, create reading groups, make sure that this voice, this prophetic human voice, full of grief and love, becomes the tenor of so many conversations. We can do that. We must do that. We owe it to our people. We owe it in memory of all those whose lives were robbed on October 7th and its aftermath. Those 45, Rachel shared, who survived October 7th but were taken into captivity and were murdered in captivity. They survived. And then they died. They survived and then they were killed. Survivors. So I know this is a very intense way to begin a reflection at this hour in the morning, depending on where you are. If you're in California, it's even earlier. If you're in Australia, it's 1 a.m., I think. Let me get into the Torah portion and then build my way back to the notion of intensity. It's a double Torah portion today. We read Acharei Mot Kedoshim this week and tomorrow in Shul. Acharei Mot Kedoshim encompasses the center of the book of Leviticus, and in fact, the center of the center, because Leviticus is book 3 of the 5 books of Moshe. The third book that we are in is Vayikra, is Leviticus. The center of Leviticus is chapter 19, which is the second Torah portion we read tomorrow. In Hebrew, we call that Torah portion Kedoshim. Let me read you the first 2 verses. It might jog your memory because it's a very famous section. We call it the Holiness Code. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el kol adat bnei Israel ve'amarta lehem kedoshim tihiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. God spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the whole Israelite community and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy. And this has been a staggeringly complicated phrase for all of its straightforward language, no one quite knows how to do it, because whatever holy means, and we'll get to that in a moment, if that is what God is, how can a person do it? You can't be God. The verse challenges us in a profound way to consider what it is to follow God, to try to do what in Latin you call imitatio Dei, imitate God. We can't do that. That's not what it is to be a person. And yet the verse says, be holy because I am holy. Okay. So the rabbis over time begin to articulate what it means to be holy in the way that God is holy, to emulate the Holy One. And they find sections of Scripture, sections of the Torah, where God clothed the naked. And the rabbis say, God clothed the naked, you should clothe the naked. God fed the hungry, you feed the hungry. God took care of the dead, tended to Moshe when he died, we should tend to the dead. And over, these gorgeous acts of kindness and mercy and presence are the way that we follow this verse. It's a beautiful humanizing of the divine. It might be a way of understanding that God is the best we could possibly hope to be ourselves. We have these nobler notions of what it is to be human, and perhaps we project them onto the divine, and perhaps that is a mirror. It is an amplified mirror. If that's what I believe God is, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I wrote a song once that has the two lines, and if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. And so that is an incredibly powerful and demanding verse, because it places so much in our hands. And that leads me into a more basic question, which I'll only explore for a moment. What does the word kadosh mean? We translate that as holy, but let me ask you a different question. What does holy mean? At the end of Shabbat, we say that this is the moment that separates between kodesh and chol, holy and whatever the opposite is. And you can find countless books by philosophers called the sacred and the mundane, the sacred and the profane. What is holy? Because once you use that word, you still have to wonder what it means. So there are a few different classic understandings. One of the notions of kadosh is exemplified when two people get married. We call that Kedoshim, same word, kadosh. And it means belonging to. This is a specific relationship of mutual belonging. I am yours, you are mine, and no one else's. Exclusivity. And so in that way, when we are called to be holy, that means God says, I love you. You love me. We're going to build something that is unique to this relationship. And every faith tradition should have such a notion. It's beautiful that Rabbi Manny Goldsmith, Marcia is sharing. Rabbi Manny Goldsmith, Zichrono Livracha, used to say that holy means ethical. Now, there is a lot of moral teaching in this chapter, chapter 19 of the book of Leviticus, but it is a question, actually. If it means ethical, then what connects in a divine way? Certainly, there's no way to claim a relationship with God if I act unethically. You can't be a good Jew if you're a bad person. That is a really, really basic thing. So yes, and. So I want to share one of the deepest teachings I've ever experienced on this question. It comes from Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, who is very, very important, period. Probably the greatest living Jewish thinker. Arlene's husband, I think, had his bar mitzvah with Rabbi Greenberg. I was present once, many years ago. I was 17, and he managed to even get through to a 17-year-old. And he gave a talk about what the word holy means. It was this week's Parsha. And I remember Yitz said, holy means intense. When it says Kedoshim to you, be holy, it means lead an intense life. One second. Thank you for the correction, Arlene. Rabbi Rabbi Greenberg married Arlene and Michael. He didn't do the bar mitzvah. And it was a life moment. To be holy is to lead an intense life. And that is a very, very demanding thing too. All of those ethical teachings, all of the presence that we are called to demonstrate, those are different facets of the notion of kadosh, being holy. And I remember Yet said that the three words, kadosh, 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 holy, 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 that is the ultimate proof that that's what it means. Because what is holy to the third power? God, only God. But I will tell you that last night I witnessed something very close. Sometimes you're in the presence of someone who clearly carries God's wisdom, carries God's pain, is a vessel of God's love. Rachel Goldberg Poland is that. This book is language that poured out of her. I don't want to be hyperbolic, and so I'll simply say this. To be in Rachel's presence is to feel the universe coursing through someone's eyes and heart. To listen to her words. And she's just a person. She is the first to say that. But she's a person who's been through too much intensity. And she's sharing it with us. I was privileged last night to sit just behind John, Rachel's husband. John and I know each other a little bit. And I was watching Rachel while also seeing John. And their love for each other, and their devotion to their family, to their daughters, and to their son, Hirsch, Zichrono Livracha. I want to hold this book up one more time. Rachel said last night in response to a question about her faith, I don't have faith in God. She looked at the table next to her and she said, I don't have faith that this table is here. I know God is here. To know with that kind of clarity, and then to move forward with that kind of love, honesty, witness. We are called this week to be holy because God is holy. We have living models of what that looks like and of what that demands. Yes, I'm going to close, John, with what you just shared. Because Rachel closed with this notion that when she wakes up every morning, she says the sentence that traditional Jews say, Modeh ani lefanecha. She said it with the feminine, Moda ani lefanecha. I am grateful. I'm grateful that I get this soul back today. And then the end of the sentence is Rabba emunatecha. She translated it in such an important way that God has faith in us. Sometimes you need to hear that. That God has faith in you. So, get this book. Study it. Treat it like the holy thing that it is. And let's make sure that we amplify the best of what Rachel is calling us to be, which is a very modern version of what I believe the Torah is calling us to understand. We are not God, but we can follow God's path. And even if you don't use the word God to describe source, or even if you don't believe in God, the way the rabbis channeled this forward is not so different from the model that Rachel and John are setting. Do what is needed for others. The more we fall in love with Hirsch, Goldberg, Poland, Zichrono Livracha. May his memory be for a blessed revolution. The more we do that, no question, the holier we will be. May we be faithful to that message. Let's send our hearts to the east, friends. Kolon baleva penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvatenu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liot am chofshi be'atzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, liot am chofshi be'atzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom, my friends. See you on Monday.